It's on.
I got it.
All right, thank you, Rachel. All right, we will call the meeting to order again at 6:10 p.m. Sun Valley Board of Directors has written and supports a land acknowledgement and anti-racism statement that we've posted on the board's webpage. We have a joint meeting of the Board of Directors and Long Range Planning tonight as part of our strategic planning sessions. So do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All right. If there's no objections, then we'll approve by unanimous consent. All right. So the first and only order of business on our agenda tonight is continuing our discussions on our vision, mission, and value statements as part of the first, we'll call it workshop 1.2, continuation of our last workshop. I'm not going to talk much so we can get into it here. So just want to thank everyone for doing the tours, all the staff that helped set that up, everyone for participating that could make it, and just looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say tonight. So I'll turn it over to Glenn here. He's going to be our facilitator again, and we'll get rolling.
All right, just a quick reminder on our ground rules. You have them in your packet this time, so I'm not going to repeat them. And we did a great job last time. So what we're doing tonight is just, I put them in a different order because we did a nice job with our values, and I thought we were pretty solid with them, but we'll revisit them at the end. So we didn't complete our mission statement, but we did a vision statement, but I wanted to start vision and mission again. So as a reminder, and I will probably have Oryx bring this up in a little bit, is the work that we did on that is, I thought, included in here somewhere. Oryx, if you're there, if you can bring up the previous mission statement.
Yeah, just a moment. Let me grab that and I'll share my screen.
And so while she's doing that, as a reminder, we did put one together, and it was, here it is. And we had a lot of discussion about it, and we did some wordsmithing and came up to one that we agreed on that day. But as we talked about before, nothing is forever. And as we started moving forward, as we got to the end, we realized maybe there were some things we should talk about. So I believe the mission statement is the working one we had was to cultivate and maintain. You
mean vision statement, right?
Vision statement, sorry. Even I'm getting, there it is, right there. So one of the things that we had right at the end was a discussion about, does recreational belong or does it not? And that kind of led us to say, let's talk about it a little bit more. So I just want to open it up to you guys to have more discussion about this vision statement. The goal is to come to a little bit more agreement, a little more refining, and then go into a mission statement and finish that work. Remember, we planned for 2 hours, so we got an hour and 45 minutes to get through these and then revisit values a little bit. So with that, I'll hand it off to anyone who wants to get started on discussion.
Josh?
So it seemed from my very selective memory that recreational was the hot word last time. So should we consider pros and cons of using that language, or what's an alternative that we can say? Because to me, I understand people hear recreational and they're probably automatically going to, golf and tennis and that type of stuff. But to me, like, it also, represents the trails and being outside and walking our trails and stuff like that.
My
So-
thought was just to move it down lower, Josh, just because to cultivate and maintain, wait, I can't read it right now. To cultivate and maintain a sustainable community where creative inspiration, natural beauty, recreation and active, so why not just move it down lower? Because technically it's a residential community, and I
Right.
think, and just keep recreation, just move it down a bit lower along with that list, creative creative inspiration. I think recreation is in line with creative inspiration. I don't know, it's up to you guys, whatever you guys
No,
think.
I think that sounds good. I mean, even just saying recreation versus recreational completely changes how that
Oh.
sounds in my
Oh,
brain,
yeah. Yeah.
So I think
I would
that's,
totally agree with that too. The recreational, like you said, we all know what it means, but it's such a broad term, and especially when it's put that way. It does. When you say recreational community, that does inspire different views. I was even thinking of different words we could use, like active, but I think we already have active in our sentence there. But
yeah, I think that was another one that was like, active already sounds like it's automatically just a 55 plus community, I mean that with all the most respect.
Yeah, because I'm 56.
Some of us are getting there.
We need something after where we say natural beauty, recreation, and it should be a robust, you need the word a in there, not just and robust civic engagement. Do we want it to say civic, or do we want it to say community engagement?
Well, I think that's fine how it is because it's almost like an adjective, right? Robust civic engagement.
Well,
Brian Cope.
I'm gonna
Englishman
fight
Brian.
over an A.
Multi-generational community.
Creativity, robust civic engagement, and recreational opportunities, and natural. Yeah, I'm just trying to see the parallelism here. I mean, it's fine for me. It's fine to start with, just the when we start the list, we're using one word, a series of, two. With the first two elements of the list, they're inspiration, creativity, and then we go on to robust civic engagement, recreational opportunities, and natural resources. So that kind of flows. I think it's fine. Yeah.
So you'd add opportunities after recreation?
I would, unless you want to move recreation to after inspiration.
Well, I think opportunity
Creativity.
sounds great because it
Yeah.
opens it up.
I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. Sure.
I was just looking over my notes that I made from the worksheet, and actually that's what I had after recreational was opportunities. So yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
So, Lori, what did you say about multi-generational?
Yeah, I was wondering about multi-generational community, just to make people feel like they're all all included in it, not the young kids, us old people also.
Would the diverse cover that though?
Well, I'm saying if you say opportunities for,
Yeah. I was going from recreational community to that. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Could we take diverse out of the end for our diverse membership and put that in front of community? I don't know if that's to create a financial or fiscally sustainable, diverse community. I don't know if we're packing too much descriptions into community, but
I think that sounds good because then you're actually leading it from the front,
Okay, so there's a couple of things popping up over into the chat. So I'm just going to read them. One of them is a naturally beautiful, sustainable community whose unity and compassion result in a high quality of life for all. And another is that Sudden Valley is a diverse, member-focused community creating a sustainable and fiscally responsible governance for the benefit of all members. And I love adding for the benefit of all members because that points back to our actual purpose as it's stated in the articles also.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
I prefer the shorter. I feel like I know we did a lot of the word work, and I feel like we're trying to pack it all in. And if there's a way where we can reduce the words, but still have the essence and the ethos of all the words that we wanted to use so that it's a little bit more succinct and direct.
I think that's a good point, Kim.
So how would you do that, Kim?
I think partly to cultivate and maintain is, in my eyes, like a thing you would add. Those are action words for like a mission statement more than they're a vision statement. Beginning, usually in a lot of the examples of looking at and stuff, it's like X community is da 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 kind of thing, and yeah, I agree with Kim. Like some of the better vision statements that I looked at in examples seem to be very like, clear and just short and simple, but embodying that kind of ethos of the whole, of all of these pieces we're trying to piece together.
To answer your question, Glenn, I think by trying to select words that encompass more than one word. So we're starting out with, where is our current one?
Still on the screen.
Oh, okay. I'm looking in my book. Yeah, cultivate and maintain. So, I mean, can we pick one verb that encompasses both of those so we can get rid of a verb there? And environmentally and fiscally, can we combine those to work with sustainable so that we're trying to throw too many words in there? And I feel like there's a way to say what we want to say and cut the word usage down.
So the last time we talked about just saying sustainable and removing the
get rid of environmentally and fiscally. I threw something up in the chat. I mean, it doesn't have to be all the end all, but I was trying to just suggest that we simplify it and maybe not try to use all of the words that we were put on the board last time.
And then there's just a.
I'm sorry, going along with what AJ said, maybe take out to cultivate and maintain and say the Sudden Valley will become.
Well, on a vision statement, you speak in present tense. So you'll say Sudden Valley is in the statement.
Okay, so what I've heard kind of from the group so far is that it would say Sudden Valley is a sustainable, diverse community or creative, and then on.
Is that a true statement?
It's not what we are, it's what we want to be. From the white paper that AJ sent, that was one of the takeaways. It's who we want to be in the future. So it doesn't have to be correct now. It has to be something we're aiming for.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I want to get rid of the creative inspiration and all that stuff. It just, as much as I like all of that stuff, because I'm a child of the 60s, I feel like it clouds up it just clouds it up.
Okay.
think some of that stuff too, you know, we can, to kind of piggyback off Kim and like trying to wordsmith or parse down words, some of the stuff too is like can get moved into like our values and the statements that go along with those values, you know, and whatnot. And like a value of excellence or something like that also implies things like, you know, innovation, you know, creativity, consistency, you know, like we were talking last time we had values and we started to try to take one word and then other values would fall in line under that one word and stuff like that. So
They're doing the
That's-
mission statements and
and stuff like
statements
that.
tonight.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to understand something. So is this chat, everybody can talk in this chat? I thought this chat was a sidebar to the people
Yeah.
that are in this, on the planning team. So it looks like community members are coming in too.
They're not supposed to be. I'll figure out what's going on. I'll get in touch with John.
Okay. So, and addressing what AJ was saying, I just a comment on one of these, Andrew made a suggestion, and I think it addresses what you're talking about some of these, well, we can use them like in the mission or the values, because I think Andrew's suggestion, see if I can find it again. He's to give our members the most compelling homeowners experience possible. That may fall over into the mission part. We can use some aspect of that more in the mission rather than the vision, I guess. I just didn't want him to feel ignored over in the chat. So
I saw that, and I think that's I think you're absolutely correct on that. So, so how do we feel about, we've got on the bottom, we've got what has been suggested to start, and then you can continue with recreational opportunities and robust civic engagement, contribute to a high quality of life for our membership. So how do we?
I like that.
Okay.
I actually can't see the chat at all while I'm sharing my screen, so I'm happy to include anything great that comes across in chat, but I'm going to need someone to dictate to me. Thank you.
Yep, I'm watching it for you. So I think we've captured a lot of what's in the chat for the vision statement, and then once we switch the other one,
where did it go? I lost the screen. Where can we move maybe diverse to, I don't know why I don't see the, I don't see it anymore. Dang it.
It's right after sustainable, the first comma.
Okay, so like if we move diverse more towards in front of diverse membership, quality of life for our diverse membership.
that's where you had it originally.
I'm just saying because then that addresses Lori's point that, you know, we're a multi-generational community, diverse socioeconomic community. I get, yeah, I don't know. Okay.
And then we also need to think about our priorities among the order of the word. So is sustainable the priority for us, followed by diverse, followed by natural, followed by recreational? We should be considering the order of things. And I'm hesitant on the robust civic engagement part. Even though I want civic engagement, I like the term compassionate, because I feel like with the divisiveness that we're experiencing in our nation, compassion should be somewhere as part of it. That's just me. Because I don't want a community that's at odds with each other. I would like to envision a community that's compassionate, and peaceful. And we certainly had our fair share of discord.
So are you saying compassionate civic engagement? Is that what you're suggesting?
Maybe.
I was trying to,
Yeah.
was trying to understand what you were.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the word compassion overall. Like, do we all want a compassionate community? I like compassion to be freestanding. If you all think that's something we should aim for, I just think kindness should be in there. I mean, we're focusing on the environment, we're focusing on the type of people we have, we're focusing on the beauty and the recreational, but nowhere in here do we talk about, and maybe that's for another area, maybe that's for our values. Maybe we'll save that for the values part, but maybe it's not for that.
So I'm going to step out of the facilitator role and talk for the staff. Compassionate or kind is something that the staff is in 100% support of, and would go a long way, whether it's here or in the values. That would mean a lot to us as a staff serving the community.
I think everyone should be aiming now and in the future of treating each other respectfully and with dignity, and it needs to show up somewhere. And I'll get off my soapbox on that one.
Well, I joined you up there, so.
I think
Maybe that needs to be in our values.
It can be too.
I, kind of piggybacking, Kim was talking about the order of the words and stuff. And for me, I keep coming back to what, in the worksheet, the vision worksheet, what are the most, kind of pressing concerns right now? I have, basically sustainability, transparency, fiscal responsibility, and that, integrity, compassion, things, and what actions do you believe need to occur to get to like the vision that I see? And the main thing I see is like a member focused, member driven, member oriented community. So like, to me, that's like the first priority in the vision is Sun Valley is a member, basically I think I wrote member focused community, but I'm no wordsmith by any means. I'm a math guy, but but that was kind of the one big thing for me.
So if you, just a question.
That's a big part of the planning process that we're building here and stuff, and following the GMA and that type of thing. Sorry, Glenn.
So does that answer the civic engagement question? And
I feel like it does. Like you're focusing on the members and whether they choose to be, we're focusing on the members and they're getting to choose to participate, how best suits, their schedules, needs, desires, kind of thing. But they're always knowing that our overarching goal is to focus on them, whether they choose to participate or not.
Right.
Didn't we say seeking to cultivate a compassionate member-focused community?
I don't think we need a verb statement though. Like the verb statement is like the more mission oriented.
This is what we are.
Yeah, so it's like we don't need to seek it. We are it. We envisioned it already. It's kind of like, Sonia says it's in the existing tense.
Yeah.
Or whatever tense that is. Sorry, my brain just shut off there.
I like
as long as it doesn't stifle true debate. There's going to be debate. It's a heterogeneous community, right? And so I'm all for compassion. I err on the side of compassion every day. But But
Okay.
and I think it's wonderful to have for the staff, for sure. It's a
So-
difficult thing because it's hard to pack everything in that we want to envision in this community in one little statement here. So I assume that we're going to expand and have values. And
I also like focusing on the people first instead of our amenities.
Which goes back to what AJ was talking about, member focused.
Mhm.
But I do want to read this because it also addresses the civic engagement. Because if you go by the definition of civic engagement, it includes communities working together, or individuals working alone, basically to make a change in a community, right? So I think that's the purpose of why everybody was talking about the civic engagement, to make, to allow and encourage member participation. So does the language of saying member focused also address member participation? I guess that's where will that word do double duty is what the question is, right? Member driven? What about that? Diverse member driven community.
I like what Sam said in chat about empowered by members, or if we say something that about empowering members, I think that would be great.
Oh, Joel Dobbins said member driven too. I didn't see it.
I feel like member driven sounds like we're some sort of banking institution. I'm sorry.
It sounds like to me that it's driven by the member.
It sounds very operational and dog loving. No, because I have a cat, Mike. But but yes, it is a dog. It is a dog loving community.
Just saying. We don't have cat parks, we have dog parks.
That's true. Okay, now I'm going to ask for a cat park. Like that would work. Okay, stay focused.
But that's part of the recreational opportunities here, guys.
There you go. And then
The dog
was it
park is.
Sam said member focused? Could we combine member focused, empowered, or are we starting to get too many adjectives here?
Yeah. I think that's.
Can I suggest something?
Please.
Wordsmithing with a dozen people is like really terribly difficult.
Like herding cats?
Exactly. Well, and I want to, what I find personally really helpful here is to kind of just go back to basics. And so what is the mission and vision statement? It is the message to membership. Well, who's the messenger? And the messenger is staff and the board of directors. It basically is the management entity of the homeowners association. So to try to figure out what the words, whatever the wordsmithing needs to produce, that's the messenger and that's the recipient. And so I think, to go back to AJ's point, I think it's really important that right off the bat, we're basically acknowledging this is a message to membership, and it's a member driven thing. And we are here to serve you, whether you're staff or the board or anybody else involved in this. And so the staff and the board are our decision makers. That's the HOA's decision makers. And so the mission and vision statement, in my simple mind, again, whatever combination of words, is to instruct them how to behave, right? How to make your decisions. And so, I'm raising this because hopefully that helps reduce some of the things, or change some of the words here. I absolutely concur with Kim. I think, we got to boil this down and get rid of the flowery stuff. And it's all flowery to some degree, but I think you get where I'm going. It's really, this is a tough task for the, everybody on board tonight to try to figure out what's our final word choices. But to figure out, what our report card is, that's my report card. At the end of this is to figure out, did we satisfy everything I just described?
So, and
Thank
to
you.
add to that, in a group setting like this, there is no way that everyone's going to get their word in it. And I think that's the key thing to remember is there a word or is there a piece of this that resonates with you? Because in the membership, not every word will resonate with them either, but one will. Some it'll be natural beauty, some it might be, member focused. It's all, it's going to be all encompassing because each word has a different meaning to all of us. So you have a couple of versions up there that aren't bad, but we still have a little bit of, so let me kind of read what I think you've got so far, where you are, and then we can go from there. Sudden Valley is a compassionate, member-focused community where natural beauty, recreational opportunities, and we're going to take robust out. So natural beauty and recreational opportunities contribute to a high quality life for our diverse membership.
Okay.
I think
Can I
the
say
only
something?
thing I would,
I'd like to address what Scott was saying. So I can agree with that to a point, but considering that, we're fully funding this association, I don't think staff or anybody should be telling us how to behave. They're here to enhance our lives, not the other way around. And so I don't really like that language. And but I get what you're driving at. I understand your point. And so what about this? So what if the opening part of the statement, which I think it might knock out some of these extra words, is if we say, in cooperation with and for our members. So if you start it like that, then you can go, if you want to then use staff or the board, you could always say, you could just say the Sudden Valley, the SVCA is dedicated to, and then finish out the statement. But there you hit it right there. It gives you everything. It puts the members first. It's in cooperation with and for our members. So it covers most of those points. Then you can put those other ones under it.
I think one thing that Scott hit that this is, the overarching vision statement trickles down into all aspects of the association and the operations. And so it is it's the top level of a decision-making matrix and structure, and so, with the bylaw limitation and all of the, conversations that have happened over the last couple of years with dues, I still go back to, with the Sudden Valley as a compassionate, member-focused community that's creating a sustainable and fiscally responsible governance for something, that's the decision-making, the governance. We're then telling the governance decision-making needs to be fiscally responsible and it needs to be sustainable for the future, that we're not just going off on limbs, or pie in the sky trying to do this stuff. So it's member focused, and then here are those guidelines, to help those overarching couple words that will guide the majority of like the daily and, governance decisions.
Okay, so remind me, is this from the staff and board to the community, or is this supposed to be from the community to the staff and board?
So
This is a community-driven process. So, we're going to engage the community on the statement that we make and solicit feedback from them, and continue this iterative process of continuously going back to them and gathering input, as we move along.
No, that's not my question. My question is, who's the audience for this statement, which is what Scott was focusing on.
The world.
yeah, everyone.
It's literally everyone who might ever buy a home here, or
As well
lives
as
here
everyone
currently, or comes here to utilize an amenity, or it's all the stakeholders of the community, which, potentially with our tax status and, the fact that anyone could buy a home here if you can afford to purchase the home, could mean, basically anyone.
So it's from the members of the community to the world.
Yes.
More or less.
And
It's
and
kind
to
of,
e-
it's,
and to each other.
And to each other. Yeah.
this is kind of, to me, it's a commitment by the board and staff, whoever they are and whoever the board is at the time, because we change these things, of what you're going to find here. I'm going to go with AJ, and I'm going to go back to that whole thing with the opening statement of Sudden Valley is a sustainable whatever. If it's not sustainable, all the rest of these words mean nothing.
Hey guys, can I read you something real quick from another community?
Sure.
So this is from Serenbe in Georgia, and they are a very sustainable community. And it's like, that would be like my dream to have here, but we're huge. They're not as big. But their statement says, we value nature, passion, creativity, and community. We believe people can live more fully when connected to the wonder of nature. We value people for who they are, not what they are or what they do. This is a community where people live, work, learn, and play in celebration of life's beauty. A place where connections between people, nature, and the arts are nourished. Like, to me, that sounds inspiring. And I know we talk about flowers or whatever, but to me, this should inspire us. And I think the hard thing with this sort of thing is being able to step out from your own mind here, and stay with me, but to be able to read this from a different perspective. And yeah, it's for all the members, but I think this should be something that staff can get behind too. We should all be, regardless if your word's in it or not, this should be something that we do feel empowered with, or that other people will see and feel empowered to live here and to see what there is more to offer in Sudden Valley than at face value, So I think the robust community civic engagement and stuff like that, that's great to have, that almost like feeds into being involved. And I'm kind of rambling now, but.
Well, let me clarify. First of all, Sonia, I agree. Josh, I agree. And I think we're onto something really valuable here in terms of really what the value of the mission and vision statement is. I think it should capture all these things. And what we're talking about is codes of conduct. And it's a code of conduct if you're a decision maker for this community, and it's a code of conduct if you're a resident or a property owner of this community. And so that's important to address, but as a practical matter, a resident of this community isn't bound to live by the words we come up with, whereas staff and the board and contracted decision makers are. And so I guess that's what in my mind, I think is important to differentiate here as we try to reduce the number of words. And so I'll stop there, but I think everybody's input has been really valuable. And we're taking a step backwards to take a step forwards. I think it's really important to kind of figure out who the messengers are, who the receivers are, and what the real value of the message is. Thanks.
God, I'm not knocking anything that you say, just so you know. I'm just saying that, like, in general, coming up with stuff like this, creative sessions, this stuff takes a long time. But I think for what we've all done so far, I think we've made some progress. I mean, companies spend months on this type of thing, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
I think one thing with what you read, Josh, is it's just like it feels too long. Like, I already can't remember like over half of it. It's like, it's great when you're reading it and you have it in front of you, but like those decision makers aren't necessarily going to have that like sitting. Like, we want them to just like, it needs to like trigger, feels like, it needs to trigger those key words that always will have in the back of their head when they, raise their hand to vote on a motion, or, when membership votes on an issue on the ballot, or, whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to step out of the facilitator and then I'll go back. From a staff perspective, sustainable is important, not only for fiscal, environmental, but it's important for us in actually the work that we're trying to do, to be able to have a sustainable workload so that we can excel. So that's one. So that means a lot to us. Diversity means a lot to us, for I would say obvious reasons, but also just being included in the community, that helps us be included in that. One of the things that we value a lot, and I've heard this across the board, every staff I've spoken to, is natural beauty is one of the reasons that we want to work here and that we want to protect. So those things mean a lot to us. So they resonate with us and they're inspirational, however we put them in there. So having said that, stepping back into the facilitator's role, we've spent going on 40 minutes on going over something that we had already started to agree to. We've gone backwards, we've gone forwards, we've rewritten. And I want to contradict Josh a little bit. I believe, in particular, a vision statement can be done quickly, can be done quicker, because you guys are not changing the words. You're changing the words, but not changing your meaning. You have the same core values here, and you all have a similar understanding of it. You've done a lot of wordsmithing of it. So I just want to get a sense from the group. Where are we with this? Are we close? Is one of these that's up here close to what you want to do? Is it one of them that's been brought up in the chat?
So I understand what you're saying, that we're kind of basically saying the same things and we're wordsmithing. And Josh was saying that it needs to have that inspirational aspect, that the thing that inspires people, and we can't really do that. So it may be, are you suggesting that we kind of just agree in general that this is, and then some marketing guru that we know might be able to come up with something a little catchier as far as the wordsmithing? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I think if you agree in principle, like you did before, because we have one of those on the board. We also have a couple with the skill set on on the staff, and we also have a consultant coming in to help us do some of that stuff. So we could do that. And as AJ mentioned, you're going to take this to the community for their feel, which is going to be even harder to try to deal with all of that information coming in on wordsmithing and that sort of stuff. So if you have an inspirational one that captures the essence of what we've talked about, we could, yes, that's what I'm saying, or we could be here the rest of the 2 hours talking about this, which I think it's important to do that, but you also have a lot of other goals you want to accomplish in this process.
I think that center one is key, and with some changes there. I do really like what Sam said about empowerment. I think that's, not that we have to use that word, but I like that direction because it's getting involved, and that's part of robust civic engagement,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just real quick, because one of the things that I was also hearing from staff and is the concern that we're not including staff in the statement. So anyway, I messed it up, but I wrote it in the chat, but I just kind of ended it with, like for the benefit of all our community, which then would include staff. We're not just saying members. We're being more inclusive. So we can find some language that somehow is more inclusive, I think. That's what I'm understanding.
So from and any of the other staff can jump in here, but for me, Sudden Valley, one of the things that I will start doing is calling our staff Team Sudden Valley, because we serve Sudden Valley. So when you say Sudden Valley, that should trigger that it includes us, because we're part of the community as well. So that's just from the staff, from my perspective. Any other staff member want to weigh in on that?
I would agree. I don't feel that staff needs to be mentioned separately.
Okay.
I want to hear what Joel Heverling has to say. Come on, Joel.
I was just about to say, I think I should be mentioned personally.
Attaboy.
My last name is fine if you just want to go with that.
Okay. So want to see a thumbs up. I can't see everybody because of the sharing, but is there anyone against the words that are in number 2? Is there anything that says, no, I can't have that?
Which are you calling number 2?
Sudden Valley is a
Glenn?
state. Yes, the one that's right there.
All right, gotcha. Thank you. Just confirming.
No, that's a good question.
Is there a grammar problem with that one? Diverse community where natural beauty, recreational, and civic engagement can sustain. No, I guess that's good.
Yeah, I think it looks okay.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, and we're just trying to decide on these key words and the intent, and then somebody's going to come back with, okay.
We'll bring back that one and a couple of different options so that you can weigh in, and then it'll narrow it down for you rather than try to get to a wordsmithing exercise. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, then the next part is moving back to the mission, which we had a lot of start here, and this is where I wanted to make sure we did capture, and I got to find it in the Andrews was not a bad thing to add to it. I just got to find it. I know it's in here somewhere. So you guys can weigh in on what you think of this. What's a good place to start on a mission statement? And again, mission is what is more action oriented.
I think for me, when I was kind of going through this and thinking about it and doing the worksheets again, one word that I kept coming back to was to enhance. It's like that kind of action word is enhancing the lives of the membership, the property owner experience, as Andrew had said, or, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my main action word I kept coming back to.
Anyone else? Okay, Oryx, I'm going to read Andrew's. His was to give our members the most compelling homeowners experience possible. And I have one more that I'll throw out there from Richard. Our mission is to preserve and enhance quality of life and sense of community for members and stakeholders. Oops. In congruity with our core values and shared vision.
I'm sorry, I missed part of that.
That's all right, I'll read it again. In congruity, our mission is to preserve and enhance quality of life and sense of community for members and stakeholders in congruity with our core values and shared vision. So it seems like we're having more of a challenge with action than we were a vision.
Back up earlier, there was one that we started out with. I think I came up with it or somebody did, where we talked about you enhance and preserve, but you do that through effective and efficient management of the association, enforcement of rules and covenants to preserve property values, and support initiatives and capital improvements that benefit the greater good of the community. I know that's long-winded, but the only way we do this is to preserve and enhance. How do we do that? We do that through effective and efficient management of the association, which includes the board, staff, anybody that's here, including the memberships who pay their dues to allow us to do that.
Yeah, that's up there. That's the third one.
And I think that, yeah, I just, it doesn't have to be that whole thing, but I think we need to, that it should say something about that, how our mission is, how we go about seeing that vision of a sustainable community is through effective and efficient management, which is a mission. This is how we're going to do this. That's all.
I had, I kind of feel like something that I was writing kind of covered that, effective management of the association just feels so, I don't know,
bankish
law in like this type of statement. but to enhance the lives of membership through effective stewardship of the natural and built environments, and then providing quality community services. And having kind of effective stewardship of that natural and built environments is, kind of going completely, it kind of covers effective management, enforcement of rules, preservation of property values, capital improvements that benefit the greater good of the community.
What if you add something like while respecting the diversity of the community? So, and that also does the same thing. It covers the financial, socioeconomic diversity of the community, and also the varying needs, like what Laurie was mentioning, that we've got, we've got people with small families, we've got retirees, people that are basically end of life, long-term care in these homes, so there's while respecting the diversity would cover a lot of things. So like with your statement, but just adding that in there so that, because I think a lot of people, when you start talking about maintaining facilities, a lot of people start being afraid that means just unlimited amounts of dollars get spent on all of that. And I realize you're talking about fiscal responsibility, but I just thought it might help.
So, Oric, skip down to the bottom and I'll read AJ's to make sure we capture it. To enhance the lives of our membership through effective stewardship of the natural and built environments and providing quality community services.
And to provide quality.
Okay.
What does "and built environments" mean? I don't understand that.
Are trying to encapsulate all of our infrastructure in a simple, easy to understand statement. Roads, drainage, buildings, all of our homes are, everything in our community that was built by man instead of nature.
Hmm.
So that encompasses.
We're responsible for, maintaining and overseeing and everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we've lost a little energy. Is that because we're thinking, or is it because we're not in the right spot?
Blood sugar's dropping, Glenn.
Yeah, we just ate and everything. All of our energy's gone to gone to processing dinner.
I'm a very quiet thinker.
I just got on the mic, so I have some energy.
All right. Bring it to us.
I think it would be great. So I wrote in chat and kind of just adjusted things a little bit. The main thing is the phrase "prioritized by community input and the needs of all members." I think that would be great if our mission included that we were going to, like I just said, prioritize those services that we offer and the investments that we make with member money based on what the community says that they want and they don't want, and mentioning something about needs, make sure that it's a needs first mission more than once. And as great as recreation is, more important, I think, that we have safety and sustainability.
So Oryx, I'll read the one that he has in the chat since you can't see it. So you can start that back all the way back. There you go. So it says to enhance the lives of our membership by providing safe, there you go. Affordable and well-maintained services prioritized by community input and the needs of all members.
I would probably try to change affordable to something less subjective, because what might be affordable to one might not be for another.
Cost effective?
I'm not
Well
sure.
maintained is
I think that's too
subjective
technical.
too.
Well, I think so, like, and then that's where I was going, because I think this sounds great, but I'm just trying to figure out the order of this, because well-maintained services, I think it's something services that help maintain our infrastructure or something like that, because the services won't be well maintained, right? Well managed. I don't
You
know.
could say well-maintained facilities and services, amenities and services. Amenities
Excellent
might be a better
services.
word than facilities.
Yeah.
Facility sounds like a bathroom.
Superior services, excellent services. Yeah, well-maintained services kind of not, that's not in the right place anyway.
How about
Well-maintained.
amenities? It's our amenities,
I
right?
can't because they can see me.
Can't we use amenities?
Thank you.
Yeah, but you should speak to service in the mission. Service, it also should address
Roads are
what we're providing, right?
safe roads are a service, right? Plowing is
But something in chat that I pulled from the white pages that it talks about the secret of creating a great mission statement is to focus on why your organization exists, not the products or services your organization provides, which kind of throws an interesting wrench in what we've just been kind of putting into these mission statements. But when you read that whole section, and it uses a couple of healthcare providers as examples, but they're extremely simple statements. And almost the one that Andrew had, to give our members the most compelling homeowners experience possible, almost more fits in with what, at least this is telling me what a mission statement is. And I don't know if that's sort of the right simple phrase. And if there's one that maybe can encompass what we're trying to say without saying that the mission is to provide all these services. I don't know, might help simplify it.
So I have Oryx, can you go back to the vision statement? Yeah, you're there. Sudden Valley is a sustainable, diverse community. Well, to me, it might have been your first one, but to about cultivate and maintain, but you're talking about what you want to be. And then like Adam mentioned, the why. What's Sudden Valley's why? And for any of you who know, I've heard of Simon Sinek. He's got a book called What's Your Why? But it's the same thing as an individual. What's your purpose for being? The same thing for Sudden Valley as a group. What's your purpose for being here?
I think that needs to change. I mean, it needs to flow from our vision, because right now we're like the best place to get a nice home and not pay Bellingham prices, and that needs to change so that we're a community that is desirable in our own right and not just the inexpensive offshoot to Bellingham. So what we are and why we exist, we need to modify that.
Right.
Just to go off of what you said, and not to overly defend what I said, but I think just to state that I don't think we're getting too far off of, or I don't think we're really even disagreeing too much. I think we do need to make sure that we stay simple enough that we're not saying the goal of Sudden Valley is to provide great amenities, safe roads, and one by one on each thing. We don't want to focus on what we do, but I think as an HOA, providing those things in those ways, in a responsible way, is kind of the whole reason we exist. That's why that's why they started it. That's why HOAs exist to some degree, is to pool our resources and be able to.
I agree with Joel, and so I looked up like a lot of these after you said that, Adam. So I was looking at several different towns and their mission statements, and they all reference service. And I'm sure somewhere somebody does it, and I agree that it needs to be short, because it needs to be memorable, because you need just staff and membership need to know what are we here for, right? So it's something they can reference to. Am I staying on that? The board, when you're making a decision, like what's my mission, what's my vision, and does this work with both of those things? So it's real important that it's easy to remember, but service is everything with Sudden Valley. So I think it's important to include that. It doesn't need to go, like Joel was saying, I don't think it needs to go into detail of what that means. But I think if you're talking about you could say quality services. I mean, there's a way to do that to where it's pretty vague, but you're still touching on the fact that you're providing service.
I like the idea of quality service. It gives direction to the board, staff, committees that, like, if we're going to spend the time to do something, we're going to do it well, as opposed to trying to do everything and not do anything very well or whatever. Like, the things that we do, we should do them well, and make sure we're consistent with them.
So can we,
And so it's
instead of
like,
the enhance portion, could we say like to preserve and enhance the quality of life to go towards the sustainability portion? Does that sound ridiculous? Because, most HOAs, what are they there for? To, provide, to maintain the green spaces and parks and roads and all that kind of stuff. So I think saying about something about preservation in that first line could hit on the sustainable portion of the vision. Am I out in left field? I usually am.
You always say you are, but you never.
They make the best contributions, the left fielders.
Can you say it Josh? What can you?
Well,
actually,
I don't know how to say it. I'm just, I'm thinking out loud here. But I think we should have something about preserving, like our vision statement so far has sustainable in it. So sustainable means a lot of different things in this instance, but we want to have a mission that preserves what we have, enhances what we have. Does that make sense?
I think so.
I think to the point of having short and sweet, I wanted to share one that actually Rachel's team came up with in a workshop, and it's called their team purpose, but it really is their mission, and it's 3 words, and it means a lot to them, and it's allies in service. Now that doesn't mean anything to this community one that we're talking about, but for them, allies means we're in it together, and we align, and we provide service. And just those 3 words can mean anything to anybody, but for the 5 of them who put that together, it means a lot. So I just wanted to give you an example of something that's really short and sweet, that has meaning, and that is built from what you're talking about. That totally aligns with your vision statement right now. So anyway, keep on
wouldn't
going.
that work well, like as one of the core values, though? Wouldn't it work rather than that being the mission statement? Wouldn't that work well as to complement the mission statement as a core value?
No, in this case, in the case of them, no, they have their core values already written. They've already done those. This is how they encompass everything to remind themselves of what's important to them.
Okay, so what you're sharing with us is that this is what they, staff, this is what they've identified as the staff's mission and core values is what you're saying. You weren't suggesting we make that as the
No.
association. Okay. I didn't understand.
I just wanted to give you an example of one that is not
a
lot of words, and that's just the admin teams. That's based on their values that they put together, and that's their why. So it's just an example.
So there's something in chat, and I really like this one thing, and it helps, I think, to cut some of these words down. But Richard, let's see, I got to find again. It says, our mission is to preserve and enhance quality of life and sense of community for members and stakeholders. And he put it in incongruity with our core values and shared vision. But I think we can point to our values, like what he's saying, here's our mission.
I like that as well. Yeah, sorry, Sonia, go ahead.
No, that's it. I was done.
No, I was just going to say congruous rather than saying incongruity, because that is, those 2 words together make you think of incongruity, which is not equaling, so congruous perhaps would be a better option.
I agree, Brian.
I agree. Words, man.
Can we pick an easier word to say?
You're the professor.
It's actually congruous too. I'm mispronouncing it, so there I go.
I question whether we want to spend words on core values, shared vision. Like, these things are all supposed to be together. When we display them to the community, they should be, done in a way that's like, they're not just individual pieces that are shown in like different places. A lot of the graphics show all of this stuff packaged as one. And so do you really need to reference our core values and our shared vision in that way? Just to shorten things up, and keep them sweet,
so,
in that regard.
So if you just took that part off and say that it's implied.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'm saying. That back half of the sentence is already implied,
That's a good point.
but maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, it's obviously it's going to be congruous with our, our values. So that makes sense.
If we built one that isn't, I think we may have gone astray.
Yeah.
I prefer in alignment with our core values. Congruous is an ugly word. It sounds like gruel.
But I think they're talking about striking through that last part.
In alignment sounds more modern day.
Strike out what you got highlighted, just strike it out.
Mm.
This is kind of what AJ was pointing to.
I don't think we actually need to say stakeholders, do we? Or
members and
so we could say for
stakeholders
the
of the
sud,
city.
we could just leave it in general, the Sud Valley quality.
Well, there's one that Brian Krulak put up there that is the same, except it says community members rather than members and stakeholders.
Yeah, that would shorten it.
Yeah, and it encompasses
everybody.
Yeah.
Stakeholders is not as bad as whatever word Brian just said. I'm not even going to attempt it, but stakeholders isn't a pretty word for a graphic and all of this.
Yeah, and what about the vegetarians?
I think we need to include gruel somewhere.
Gruel, congruent gruel.
So, but
and veggie
We're a little
stakeholders.
redundant now, though. Community.
That's
for
what I was going to
community
say.
members.
We've got community in there twice.
Just for our members.
Another word for that.
I take a sense of community.
How about for
Sense
our
of
homeowners?
community. I think we could just say sense of community. I
And
don't
then
think we
stop
need
it
to-
there.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
And not say who for.
It's assumed. I
The
think,
less
isn't it?
words, the better, like you're saying, Maybe we should have everybody memorize this and ask them to say it at each board meeting.
And the thing is, if you do it like that, then it's still inclusive of other stakeholders. It's not exclusive. And referencing what you're talking about, Lori, I was going to suggest, because I saw this where some of these cities and towns have their city council reaffirm these every time there's like a new year, and then they affirm them and sign off on them every year, which also makes them have to pay a little bit of attention and know that they exist, right? So I think that's a great idea.
And what if they don't?
Then they lose out.
The punishment is harsh.
Yeah.
So to that point, that's one of the reasons that I encourage staff to keep them short, because at any time I can ask them what their purpose statement is.
Right.
And they should know it. So, okay.
Sorry, just one thought that came in to my head is, we talk about, and maybe it's encapsulated in this, but, being the natural environment, the beauty and all that stuff is so important. Do we need preserve and enhance quality of life and sense of community? Does that come at the expense of our natural environment, or, do we need to address that in there? One thing I really liked in the examples that we sent, that it was Issaquah, I think, had, and just the word stewardship always kept ringing to me in like our mission statement. But they said foster a safe, vibrant, livable, and inclusive community through effective stewardship and quality public services.
I like that.
I don't know. That was just kind of something. Do we want to give guidance in the mission as well, that the natural environment is to be preserved and enhanced for all practical purposes as well, along with our quality of life and sense of community.
I was going to say something similar, actually, AJ. The only concern looking at the one line sentence there for me is I've heard from people who live here and people who don't live here that when I told them that I was, even when I just told them that I was watching board meetings, they were like, why are you doing that? The HOA doesn't do anything. And so if you look at what are we putting a bunch of money towards? What's everyone paying into? And if it's preserving and enhancing quality of life and sense of community, that doesn't quite describe anything specific. That could be any enhanced quality of life. That could be Apple, or it could be Johnson & Johnson. So is there a way we can just add a few more words to make it, oh, they're talking about they're talking about an HOA, that's what they're doing, that should care.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the things,
Richard put it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Richard had that, and then Andrew pointed out something, and he's right that because the mission should distinguish us from what distinguishes us from other communities, and that really doesn't do that. Yeah, and then Richard said our mission is to, sorry, my thing moved around. Does somebody else want to read it?
Responsible
He
stewardship.
added where we've put in here so far, after responsible stewardship, add of assets and natural resources. And that kind of addresses AJ's concern.
That still doesn't make us distinct and give us any kind of special mission.
So you could add Sudden Valley's mission, which makes you specific at the beginning. So what makes Sudden Valley different?
The members.
We live in a forest-like environment with deer and lots of wildlife. We live in what do you say, in community with wildlife, with deer and possum and rabbits and all sorts of animals.
I think that's true. I think I've said this to a lot of people when they ask me to describe Sudden Valley, is that it is one of the first low impact development communities in the country, because it was put in here way before that was even a term. And that's how you live. That's your values. That's how you want to be. And people are attracted. A lot of the people that are calling us and saying, hey, what is Sudden Valley like? That's one of the things they talk about, is the low impact it has on the environment. So the question is this getting close to what?
Well, originally when they formed this, it was supposed to be an undevelopment.
Right.
That's what the people that formed this originally, is that it was supposed to stay in its, as much as it could, in its natural state. Treehouse Park and some of our parks, a lot of that was all made from, trees and stuff that were in here. They weren't metal play sets like they are now. Of course, they don't exist anymore, but it was supposed to be an undevelopment.
And I would say their mission was successful. So the highlighted one, how do we feel about that?
Well, we can put, like you said, Sudden Valley at the front, Sudden Valley's mission to personalize it.
I think stewardship of assets covers a lot, you know, covering our bank account, our facilities, our amenities.
Can we put natural resources before assets?
Are we going in order of priority? Because you're thinking natural resources in front of the assets.
I don't know. It seems like the most important thing, or we won't have assets.
The natural resources are assets in a sense as well.
Our natural and artificial assets, Brian.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, seeing, that this is starting to.
We're gelling, Glenn.
Yeah, you are. It's starting to resonate with everyone. And as Joel said, we can always add Joel Heverling into this and as one of our assets.
I think that should start at the beginning before Sutton Valley's mission. And
Joel Heverling and Sudden Valley's mission.
yeah, there you go.
Excellent.
A non-depreciating asset too.
So are we going to capitalize your age?
I'm like land, the value just goes up. It doesn't.
Yeah, okay.
Do we want to use natural resources though? Because that sounds a little bit like we're going to be mining the property or something.
Yeah, it's a fracking community, Brian. Don't you?
Yeah, we're going to frack.
We have
Yeah, it does sound weird.
Didn't you know, Brian, we have uranium and plutonium in our...
See, there we go. They're radiating the quality of life.
I'm so
an
partial to
environment?
I'm
So
so partial to natural and built environment, but
yeah,
I like that. I don't mind that at all. Natural and built. Any gruel qualities to that, guys?
Is there a way we could get kind of like how Glenn said, like how we're in undevelopment, and that's kind of I had written something kind of like preserving our unique relationship with our natural environment, or maybe more like a harmonious relationship with our natural environment.
So if you took this one, Justin, you said, where would you plug that in? Because I think everyone's kind of agreed that first sentence, it seems like everyone resonates with Sudden Valley's mission is to preserve and enhance quality of life and a sense of community. Would you put it instead of what's there? How would you do that?
Maybe preserve and enhance.
What if instead of our natural resources, we would say our natural environment and assets?
Well, that
at the end of that sentence, just take out resources and put in our natural environment and assets. I don't know if that's any better or not.
Well, it takes out the mining.
I think it sounds good, but then I think assets needs a descriptor in front of it. Brian Cope, help me out here.
I was going to say put
Built
assets before natural environment, because I think it would sound better to end with natural environment than assets. And if we start qualifying things, then we're going to start getting long.
What if we take out natural and just say environment and assets, or assets and environment?
I think if we put a period after community, we're good.
And you were there at one time.
I think, but we're trying to tie in the input from the community survey that had an emphasis on people's importance of responsible stewardship.
I to me, that's just a given.
It's what?
It's what?
It's a given. I think that goes with the mission. Yeah.
So, well, you could say stewardship, go back to what AJ originally said, which was our natural, our natural and built environment. I think that's what he said. So, you know, stewardship of, I mean, if you don't want to use the word assets, you could just say stewardship of our built and natural environment.
I don't
Right.
really like, I'm not fond of the word assets either. That sounds a little like gruel to me,
I
too.
think Mike is right, though. If we just said through responsible stewardship, then everything after that is included in that.
And remember, you have a three-pronged approach here. You have a vision, your mission, and your values, and your values have listed stewardship as one of its main under sustainability. So
I personally think the stewardship thing is important enough to be at the forefront in the statement.
Okay.
And we will also be, you know, referencing it, I'm sure, in some capacity through a value of either sustainability or, you know, stewardship, or, you know, we had a number of different words we came up with and values.
I agree with AJ, and I also like what Intrican said about you know, being distinctive. I mean, we're going to have this written down, you know, probably on a sign at the office, and you know, visually, we need to make sure this really is about us. You know.
well, and
I think it doesn't say enough. I think it stops to, if you're going to leave stewardship in there, I think you need to finish the sentence.
Yeah, and I don't think we have to be too short. I mean, it's not finger licking good, you know.
Then at least switch it around, so of our assets and natural environment. I feel like ending with assets sounds like we're ending with our bottom.
Yeah, I really like what Justin had said in chat, where it ends with talking about the community with well-run services and amenities while preserving our unique relationship with our natural environment. Possibly right there after we have stewardship of our assets and preserving our unique relationship with our natural environment, or something to that extent, because I think that's, I don't know, I just, for some reason, that statement there of our relationship with the natural environment really stuck with me.
Okay, so what if we did it where, since it already says preserve, what if we said something like Sun Valley's mission is to preserve and enhance quality of life, sense of community, and our natural environment through responsible stewardship of our assets.
say that again.
We just moved that part. He was talking about preserving. So Sun Valley's mission is to preserve and enhance quality of life, comma, sense of community, and our natural environment through responsible stewardship of our assets. So you're just moving natural environment so that we're not repeating preserve twice. Just moving it after sense of community.
One thing to be aware of too is, so we're saying the mission is to, and then we've got a two-part, preserve and enhance, and then we've got.
Oh, you cut out, or you're muted or something.
We lost you, Joel.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Reading right now is the mission is it's a two-part to preserve and enhance, and then it's a two-part quality of life and sense of community. And then before we added the third, it was then a two-part of assets and natural environment. So it's kind of like a lot of compounds on top of compounds. So if it was like 2 and 3, like we're starting to look at, that might be a little easier to understand, I think.
So the second,
I'm liking Glenn's input that we're not even having here. The fact that we're a low, what did you call it, Glenn? Low impact?
yeah, it's a low impact development, like, and that's the new term, the uncommunity or the however, Linda says, low impact. Yeah.
I'd like to point out one thing. We're not really a low impact community. Like we have 0 stormwater treatment pretty much in our entire community, other than what naturally the environment is doing for us. But a lot of our runoff goes into ditches and directly into creeks, you know, before it even can get treated and stuff like that. And we're definitely not the undevelopment anymore. You know, the amount of emails we get about, you know, houses being built this way or that way and the trees and that, like, I don't know. I'm just hesitant to say that we are these things, you know, and their goals to strive for, I think. But the reality is we're the second largest impact on this lake and our drinking water source next to the Silver Beach neighborhoods. You know, we make up like 80% of the county stormwater utility fee. So we're easily the largest impact in the county's jurisdiction on the lake. You know, we also have a golf course on the shorelines, you know, lots of roadways and stuff that have cars traveling on them.
Okay, then let's change it to Sun Valley's a greedy,
knock the sales
land gobbling, water gobbling. Land greedy, water.
No, I'm not saying we're like the worst thing that's ever happened or anything like that, but
maybe
I don't want to go, you know,
development.
tooting our own horn like we're, you know, great or something. But you know, and the reality is the county council and city council should have never let developers develop in our drinking watershed. But here we are, hundreds of years later, and you can't change it now.
You're certainly not the only one, and I can point to a lot of them that are, you know, thousands of times worse. And with the county's stormwater plan, you'll be there in 50 years.
So I think putting it back the other way, because it's too, even if we took and we got a comma, you know, like, so we go back to the other way. Sun Valley's, you know, like put natural environment, responsible stewardship of our assets and natural environment actually flows a lot better than trying to cram all of them in the front. And plus, we might get in a little bit of trouble of trying to preserve the natural environment because we don't have 100% control over that aspect of it.
Okay.
But we can be responsible stewards.
Yes, you can. So, okay, we got.
Do we want to change the word? Go ahead. I wondered if we wanted to change the word assets, because I don't know what that means to a lot of our members, to our amenities instead, or do we leave it at assets? I know what that means, but when I was sitting there and looking at that, I'm going, I don't know how many of our members, you know, really, you know, what are our trust lands? Everybody speak up. You know, our trust properties. And I wonder if it's better to say stewardship of our amenities, because not all of our assets do we maintain, but we do our amenities.
What, take out of our assets and leave it at that?
I think he was pointing to the next one. Or is it this one?
About shared resources.
Stewardship of our natural environment. Is that what you're talking about, Mike?
No, because that's not all we're stewards of.
Right.
I don't like our shared resources, like what Joel said.
We
Maybe
can
there's a different word for
from natural
resources.
environment. Our shared resources and natural environment, if we want
Okay, rather than assets
to
or
understand,
shit.
we don't see the trees as something to
Which covers fiscal,
Ooh.
covers amenities.
Nice change.
And takes out the gruel for a few. All right.
Mm-hmm.
What resources and who do we share them with?
we all share.
Each other.
Michael, my resource is your resource.
And I think we're looking for a word, right, or a phrase that just encompasses our amenities, our, and our assets and our, everything. Which is kind of because if we say amenities, then it really focuses on that. If it says assets, people are maybe confused by what are our assets. There's certain, that just brings up a more banker type thought in my head.
Yeah.
Shared resources.
You could say shared investments, but that makes it too financial as well. Stuffy.
So we got about 8 minutes left before we wrap. It feels
Okay.
like
So an asset is a resource, just to confirm that in case anybody.
Yes.
So it's okay to use that word.
So it feels like you're there, but I need verification from all of you that that's the case. And again, this community is gonna get a chance to react to this too. That's part of your process.
Are we thinking kind of the same thing with the vision? Like we're here and it's just kind of some minor tweaks and we just basically need to sit down and we have our key words that we definitely want used and we need to because to some extent we have all these different ones written too. We need to put two together to look at the vision, look at the mission, make sure the mission gets us to our vision, kind of thing.
Yep.
And
But I think now that you have the words and you now have, assets was the last one you're hung up on. Now that you have them, now let's let it sit for a little bit. And then when we bring them back next time, we'll put them together in a better format so you can look at them. And we'll give you a couple of other worded options from that. I'll work with Josh and a couple of us will work on a little more aesthetic, because this is a little sterile putting it in a Word document, right, or a Google document. So we'll put it in a little more flashy format and see if it doesn't continue to resonate. So
we're gonna up those aesthetics.
Yeah, because I think one thing to point out too, when you look at the examples we sent over, a lot of them don't have like Sudden Valley's mission is, or like, the way they incorporated all the values, the mission, the vision into a graphic. It's like, here's Sudden Valley. And then like, everyone does it a little bit different, but to some extent, if we can, I think the one that I really liked was like I thought it was just really the Santa Rosa, just like a very simple page. It was like this kind of silly sketch graphic, just kind of caught my eye and stuff like that. There's a lot of different ways to kind of present that in one cohesive package.
Yep. So I think if we go ahead and throw that together, and we've got a few minutes, let's look at the values real quick, but I think we can do that and bring that back to the group as part of the next session. Let's go down to the ones they agreed to. Yeah, those right there. So they were listed on one page in your note, in the meeting notes from last time too. And almost every word that you tonight, you've mentioned most of these again. in some form or fashion.
I think that's kind of important to point out, why we started with the values too first. It shows how like those things, you start to insert them into these statements, and then, you have to decide which one of those get used as the core values, try to hit as many of the points as we want to hit. And we can put like a sentence that goes with each of these, things too, like, for example, sustainability, it could be like, our expectation is that we would be innovative, resourceful, adaptive, but, I don't.
Right.
I'm not good at making up words on the spot, so I'm not going to do that. But, something along those lines where it encompasses all of these words that we've put together.
And while you never said the word fun tonight, you definitely laughed more than you did the first time. So you enjoyed the process a little more. So,
Glenn, that's because it was 2 hours instead of 4.
well, I think that's part of it.
I feel like we've just been here 10 minutes. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
I think we'll keep that in mind when we schedule the next session, because maybe we shoot for 3-hour session instead of 4 or something.
Yeah.
Seemed like that last hour started to get pretty hazy for a lot of people, and people get tired, and not a lunch break, doing it, maybe before lunch, so we don't have that post-lunch hangover.
Yeah.
I want you to know you were competing with the Bulldogs playing basketball tonight toward the beginning of the meeting. If you noticed, every now and then I was gone, I was watching the end of the game.
Yeah. Not a fair fight. Hey, a couple personal comments. Thanks to everybody that pulled this together. Again, I think the content tonight was just really tough stuff to get through as a group, and I think we did it. I am really grateful for this collaborative session with the board and the committee, and I think that whatever the format for our next session is, meaning the agenda or content of that meeting. I think an exchange of ideas, not policy level, but just speaking for myself, I learned a great deal during the tours that we all had, since we last met. Stuff that I didn't expect to learn. And I'm not going to, we're trying to wrap up this meeting, so I'm not going to go there. But a lot of it was, I think it was terribly productive. And I think in my own view, the ability to have these same people back together at the right time, in the right format, the right length, is just hugely productive. So look forward to it.
And I think me and Glenn were talking about the next session, and everyone was concerned about Easter, spring break, blah, blah, blah. So I think we're looking at an end of April timeframe for our workshop number 2 to start talking about strategies, goals, objectives, those various things. And, the level of stuff gets a bit more complex and stuff. A lot of this stuff is fairly intuitive to grasp and stuff. Moving forward, we're going to start, some high level planning stuff specifically. And we'll put together another, workbook for the session to get everyone kind of thinking about things and doing some pre-work and stuff like that.
Okay. I would echo your sentiment, Scott. You all have done some really good work and started to work together on creating this, and it shows in the work, and it will continue to as you continue down this process. So anybody got anything else? I like to wrap on time if we can, and we're right on time.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. So we'll get
I
those
will-
notes out.
I'll get a meeting scheduled with Glenn and we'll get notice sent to everybody so that you guys can get on your calendars. And we'll do that here in the next couple days so that you guys got ample time and we'll, maybe shoot for that last week in April for that first meeting and shoot for like maybe 3 hours. Would people prefer an evening again, or do we want a 3-hour weekend?
So if you do an evening, it should not be 3 hours.
So the next meeting though, is that's moving us over into the strategies, right? The facilities and the strategies thing.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
probably do a brief touch on, kind of what we put together here again and, do, it won't be as lengthy as what we did here again and revisit that. Maybe we can get a graphic and stuff kind of put together to kind of help visualize things and stuff before the next meeting too.
So as a member of long range planning, we actually need to have a long range planning meeting because we need to start working also on the survey in order to get it ready in time if we're trying to have it prepared for that AGM, prior to the AGM. So we need to have a meeting, however you guys are scheduling. So we need at least our long range planning meeting.
The way we have the LRPC meeting set up right now, Sonia, is the last Tuesday of the month. So
I just didn't want it getting bumped and we do this combined meeting again and we don't have another month of no meeting.
That's a good point. We'll get a April meeting put together for sure so we can get moving on the survey. I think that's a good point. Get wrapped up in all the things we got going on and there's other things we got to do as well.
Yeah, good point, Sonia.
Okay.
All right, so is the consensus a weekend day then? Another quick Sunday morning?
That would be awesome, in my opinion.
Okay.
Let's
If
do
we're
Easter.
doing 3 hours, yes, it has to be a morning. I can't work and do we do the board meetings for 3 or 4 hours, but it's not advisable.
No,
Okay.
your brain stops working that late. Okay. All right. All in favor of Mike's motion to adjourn? Everyone have a good night.
Good evening.
Right.